There is something powerful about the archetype of a hero, one who undergoes significant challenges and comes out on the other side, only to go above and beyond the expectations of those whom this one encounters. Now, for those of you with younger children in the congregation, elementary, junior high, senior high, or perhaps for some of you who are a little bit older, one of those heroes that has been experienced in pop culture again in a renewed way after the creation of the movies is a little fellow by the name of Frodo Baggins. How many of you are familiar with the Lord of the Rings trilogy? Most hands have gone up. And as we come into this space and we hear the story about Jesus, we are mindful of the temptations and the challenges that are experienced by Jesus, but also by this little Frodo Baggins, the Hobbit, this short little one who is given a great quest, the one who always wonders, am I good enough? I'm small. Can I do it? I don't know if I necessarily fit in. Can I do it? There are challenges ahead. Can I do it? And as we come into this story, we are invited into this journey of folks like Frodo Baggins. Others may refer to individuals like Harry Potter, but individuals who are given a great challenge, a quest that is set before them. And we wonder, what will happen? How do you make it through? How do you move past the challenges and into a new way of being? Now, in the story of Jesus being led out into the wilderness, we become well aware of Jesus' temptations. And perhaps we hear the ringing echoes of how those temptations transpire in our own lives. You see, Jesus goes out into the wilderness for 40 days. A long time. And Jesus is living that aesthetic, simple lifestyle out there in the wilderness, listening to the Spirit, wondering where he is going to be led, where his ministry will take him, wondering what life holds in store, perhaps questioning his own deep sense of purpose. What is he there for? What does this look like? And after 40 days of intense thinking and going without food, Jesus comes out on the other side only to encounter the advocate, the adversary, this one who is going to challenge and push and prod. This one who is going to see what Jesus is really made of. Now, this first temptation that we hear Jesus encountered has to do with something simple. Turning some rocks into loaves of bread and eating. Survival, in a sense. That we are told Jesus is not just hungry. His belly isn't just rumbling a little bit, but Jesus is famished. And this adversary is saying, turn these rocks into loaves of bread and eat. Eat to your heart's content. After 40 days, there's a sense of survival there, of taking care of oneself and one's needs. But Jesus says, I'm not going to use powers, my powers or other powers, just to prove a point to you. I know that I rest in God. My survival, my being, rests in the Holy One of Israel. I'm not going to fall victim to this test, this trial. Now, the second trial that Jesus encounters after he has succeeded in fending off the adversary in this first one is being led up to this high mountain and being shown the kingdoms of the world. And there, looking out and being told that he can have all of this power and glory if only he would worship the adversary. Now let's back up a little bit here and just think through this. This mountain of temptation in Israel, Palestine, well, it's a rather small mountain. And it looks out over land that is below sea level, that at the time of Jesus had little hamlets and sheep pens, and probably didn't look like some vast kingdom and array of wealth and glory. But beyond that, the point is made in which Jesus is saying, not for all of the land or all the hamlets or the cities in this world is it worth bowing down to you, the adversary. Again, hope and trust rest in the Holy One of Israel. But the temptation is there of what would it mean to be powerful, to rule over a land, to have it given to you. The final temptation, Jesus is taken up to the pinnacle of the temple of Jerusalem. There again, asked to throw himself down so that God might lift Jesus up, to save him from dashing his foot, that the angels might have charge over him, as we hear in the psalm. Jesus says, no way. Now, of course, the adversary has lodged this in a particular frame of being. If you are truly the Son of God, if you really are who you say you are, you will do this. This adversary is working to create an identity crisis for Jesus. 3 temptations. The temptation of survival, the temptation of power, the temptation of identity. Those are put before Jesus after this 40-day pilgrimage through the wilderness. The question is, how many of us hear those same temptations in various ways in our own living and being? The ways in which we are called to take care of ourselves at all costs. If we could just do this little thing, then we could provide a little bit more. And it may not be right. But if we could just do it, if we could just make it happen. Or if we would just look at it in this way, power would be given to us. Now, my mind goes immediately to corporate barons and those who are looking and working in the larger world. I began to think of the pollution that goes into our environment and the expense at which we let that happen. But they're saying, if we can just do this, then we will have a little bit more power, a little bit more money, a little bit more control over what happens. That's one example, but what happens to us on a daily basis? What are the ways that we give up what we stand for and allow other powers to enter in, or our own sense of wanting to seize control? And our identity. When we are asked, who are we really? Do we shirk back? Do we struggle with what it means to be called a child of God? Do we struggle with what it means to be whole and healthy? Do we struggle with what it means to be called a partner or spouse, a parent? Do we struggle with what it means to be single in our identity and choosing a life of chastity or living that currently? What are the struggles that we have where someone can enter in and push and prod and tempt and work to break down our